the Grouchy Nerd. Alright, quiet down, knuckleheads. It's time to take another look at an old hero pack for Fantasy Flight Games Marvel Champions. This time we're looking at Black Widow. It's okay. You've done better. Natalia Romanova was orphaned as a young child, but was abducted from her foster care and placed in a special assassin training program called the Red Room. In the Red Room, she and 28 other young girls, part of the Black Widow program, were trained in combat and espionage, as well as given bio and psychotechnological advancements which gave her an unusually long lifespan. In fact, she's nearly as old as Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes. She worked for years as an assassin for the KGB and encountered many heroes for the first time as an enemy. But when she chose to defect, her handlers at the KGB tried to have her killed, causing both her and her sometimes partner Hawkeye to seek amnesty and eventual membership with the Avengers. Since then, she's forged a relationship with Daredevil, thought she was a teacher named Nancy, became a champion of Los Angeles, set out on her own to right some wrongs from her past, rejoined the Avengers, set out on her own to right some wrongs from her past, became a secret Avenger, set out on her own to right some wrongs from her past, infiltrated the Thunderbolts, tried to kill an evil Steve Rogers, was killed by an evil Steve Rogers, but was brought back as a clone with all of her memories by the Red Room, and then took down the Red Room. Yeah, we weren't expecting all that with the clone and the evil Steve Rogers. Comics, man, they're weird. Anyway, let's take a look at her. On her hero side, Black Widow has 2s down the line in her stats, a hand size of 5, and a squishy little 9 hit points. She has the Avenger and Spy traits and Widowmaker. As a response, after you trigger an ability on a preparation card, deal 1 damage to an enemy. Now we're going to be learning a lot more about preparation cards here in a minute, but for now let's take a look at her alter ego side. Natasha Romanoff, who drops the Avenger trait and picks up a shield 1. She gets a recovery of 3 and her hand size goes up the usual 1. Mission Prep is a response. Once per phase after you play a preparation card, draw a card. 9 health and 3 recover, that's kind of tough. But now we see those preparation cards are going to be useful in either her alter ego side or her hero side. She gets to draw an extra card when she puts one into play, and when she uses one on her hero side, she gets to ping off a damage, which is of course great to take off a tough status or just to weaken a minion so you can come in with a bigger hit. First up in her kit is the Winter Soldier, played by Bucky Barnes. He does 2 attack, 2 thwart, has Avenger and Spy traits. He has 4 hit points and he costs 4 resources. However, you may reduce that cost by 1 resource for each preparation card you have in play. It's very easy to have 3 or even 4 preparation cards out at a time. She's got 6 in her kit alone, let alone any aspect cards. So getting this guy out for 2 or 1 or even 0 resources is very possible. The art might look like Corey Feldman in one of the Lost Boys sequels, but it's a great card. I mean, you might be getting 8 damage or 8 thwart for 0 resources. That's incredible! Then we get 2 copies of a 3-cost thwart event, Covert Ops. As an action, remove 4 threat from a scheme and confuse the villain. This is an amazing card. It's an action. It's not a hero action, it's not an alter ego action, it's an anytime you want to play it action. That's fantastic. And taking off 4 threat is way better in true solo than in any other player count. I love this card. Next is 2 copies of Dance of Death, another 3-cost event, though this one is an attack. Make the following 3 attacks in order. Deal 1 damage, deal 2 damage, deal 3 damage. Really cool if you're going against the villain with a tough status. You can use the 1 to get rid of the tough and then still do 5 damage. You can spread it out to 2 or 3 targets if you want to, but you don't have to. It doesn't specify that these all have to be separate targets. It can all be on the same guy. And if you're stunned, you get rid of the stun on the first attack for 1. You're only wasting the 1. Then you still get to do the 2 and the 3. That's true. I checked on the internet. It's out there on the internet, so that means it's true, right? 1 copy of Safe House number 29 is next. It's a 1-cost shield support location. As an alter ego, you can exhaust Safe House number 29 to choose a preparation card from your discard pile and add it to your hand. Now, obviously, you need to make sure that you have a preparation card in your discard pile before you try to use it, but that's really good. I mean, the preparation cards are kind of key to making her work. So being able to recur your favorite 1 or 2 or 6 many times in a game is amazing. It's fantastic. And even if for some reason you don't want to play it right now, it's still just an extra card in hand to help you pay for something else. 2 copies of Attack Robotics is our first preparation card, finally. It's a 1-cost attack and skill upgrade. When a boost card is turned face up, discard Attack Robotics to cancel the boost icons and then deal 1 damage to the enemy for each boost icon canceled. Ooh, I love a portmanteau. So it's an attack upgrade. You play it, you put it into play, it sits there until you get a really bad boost, and then you choose to use it then. You don't have to use it the first time you get a boost icon. It's not like Nebula. You just get to put it into play and use it when you want to. That's what all of these preparation cards are going to be. And every time you trigger one with her Widowmaker ability, you're also going to do another point of damage back. She's a lot of fun! Next, we get 2 copies of a non-preparation upgrade with the tech trait, Black Widow's Gauntlet. It's 1 cost, and you may exhaust it to generate a wild resource to pay for a preparation card. Yeah, it's limited to just preparation cards, and that's a little annoying, but it also only costs 1 to put out, and then it's giving you a wild resource to pay for a preparation card every turn, so that is going to make your preparation card basically free. And not to mention that if you're in Alter Ego, then you are also drawing a card the first time that you play a preparation card, so it even replaces itself. Come on. And she gets 2 of them. Grappling Hook is our next preparation card. We get 2 copies of this 2-cost tech upgrade. As a hero interrupt, when you would reveal a treachery, discard Grappling Hook to cancel the effects of the treachery and discard the treachery. Just cancel a treachery. And again, it's an upgrade that just sits there until you get a nasty treachery. You could play that first turn, and it just sits there until Shadows of the Past shows up, and then you can just, no it didn't. No, it did not show up at all. Then we get 1 copy of Synth Suit, another tech upgrade, this one with the armor trait. It costs 3 to give Black Widow plus 1 to her defense, bringing up to a very respectable 3. But it also gives her a hero response. After you trigger the ability on a preparation card you control, exhaust Synth Suit to ready Black Widow. The static defense boost is great. The readying is a little bit more scattershot because of the nature of the preparation cards. You're not necessarily going to guarantee that one of those is going to trigger every turn, so you can't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get a ready off of this every turn, but it's going to be a lot of turns, and sometimes getting to ready is better than no times getting to ready. Plus, in protection, using Armored Vest, you can then get her defense up to 4, and then suddenly that 9 hit points doesn't seem so bad anymore. If she's defending at a 4, and potentially readying after that. Last up in her kit are 2 copies of Widow's Bite. They're a 1-cost preparation upgrade, and as a hero response, after a minion enters play, discard Widow's Bite to deal 2 damage to the minion and stun it. For you 2-handers or multiplayers, there's no requirement here for that minion to be engaged with Black Widow. She can use this card for a minion that comes out engaged with anybody. And in true solo, yeah, you're not going to see as many minions, but when you do see a minion, having one come out and then you get to use this and it's almost dead is so good. The bad stuff! Black Widow's obligation is Burn Notice. When you draw this, you have to stop playing Marvel Champions and watch USA Network. USA. Characters welcome. Exhaust as Natasha Romanoff to remove it from the game, otherwise you must discard the highest cost preparation upgrade you control, or it gains Surge if you can't, and then gets discarded. I mean, getting rid of the obligation is of course going to be better than just discarding it and losing your preparation, but if you do have to go that route, I mean, the most expensive preparation card in her kit is 2. That's not bad. It's not terrible. Taskmaster is Black Widow's signature nemesis. He comes in with 0s in his stats. And 4 health. He has Hydra and Elite traits, and he gets +1 to his attack and scheme for each upgrade you control. That can be quite a lot. You have quite a few of these things, and having them in play will make him very strong, and it could actually be worse if he's ever drawn then as a boost card, because he'll give that ability to the villain. Ooh. Killer for Hire is her signature side scheme. It comes into play with 3 threat plus 1 more for each character, and it has the acceleration icon. So in solo, that's going to be 4 threat, which is annoying, but it's not too bad, but you are going to want to get rid of it quickly so that acceleration icon can't do too much damage to you. Then we get 2 copies of Hydra Mercenary, the same one from the core set. It attacks for 1, schemes for 0, has 3 health in the Hydra trait, and it has Guard. Guard can be a real bummer, especially if you're getting toward a point where you're about to hit the villain to take it into the next stage or possibly win the game, and then a Guard comes out and it throws everything off. But 3 hit points, that's pretty easy to get rid of. Last is 1 copy of Deadly Shot, a treachery that makes you discard an upgrade you control and either put a threat on the main scheme if you draw it as an alter ego, or take damage if you draw it as a hero. Now this one is not limited to preparations, it's any upgrade you control, though the preparation cards being the cheapest and easiest to recur are probably the ones you're going to want to get rid of here. If you don't have any preparation cards, You might have to get rid of your Synth Suit, though, and that's way worse. On to her aspect cards, Black Widow came with a Justice deck. Up first is a 3-cost ally, Agent Coulson, who has the shield and spy traits. He has 3 hit points, he does 1 attack, 2 thwart, and after he enters play, search your deck and discard pile for a preparation card and add it to your hand. That's good for anybody, but specifically in Black Widow, this feels like a signature card that they couldn't quite fit in. He's really good. He's really good. Quake is our next ally, played by Daisy Johnson. She has the Avenger and Shield traits. She costs 2, has 2 health, does 2 attack, and 1 thwart. As a response, after a minion schemes, exhaust Quake to do 2 damage to that minion. That's really awesome. She doesn't take any consequential damage when doing that 2 damage back for scheming. So if you're planning on spending any amount of time in Alter Ego, this is a great card. Plus, if a minion has a scheme of 0 and you're in Alter Ego, when it's time for the enemies to do their thing, that's still going to scheme. It's just schemes for 0. So that is enough then to trigger Quake. She can still punch back even if it schemes for 0. Pretty good. Then we get 3 copies of Stealth Strike, a 3-cost attack event. Deal 4 damage to an enemy. If that enemy is defeated by this attack, remove 3 threat. This is fine if you can guarantee that you're going to have a minion in play that you can take out with that 4 damage so that you're also doing the 2 threat, then it's still only pretty good at 3 cost. But without being able to guarantee, and in Justice you really can't kind of guarantee. It's not like an aggression where you can dig out a minion. There's almost definitely something that you can put in your deck that's better than this card. 3 copies of Counterintelligence is next. It's a 2-cost upgrade with preparation and skill traits, and there's a max of 1 per player. As an interrupt, when any amount of threat would be placed on the main scheme, discard this card and prevent 3 of that threat. This card is phenomenal. I mean, it's a preparation card, so it works well with all of Black Widow's things. Coulson can go looking for it, and then it just sits there again until you need it. It makes a trip down to Alter Ego pretty safe. You might still have to get some threat on the scheme, but if you're blocking at least 3 of that threat, that's really good. Then we get 3 copies of Spycraft, another preparation upgrade. This one is also a skill. It only costs 1, and you can only play it if you control a spy character. When you reveal an encounter card as an interrupt, discard Spycraft, cancel the effects of the encounter card, discard it, and draw another. So you do still have to draw 1. It's not as though you're getting through that step, the draw encounter card step, without having to deal with an encounter card. But if you draw Shadows of the Past, or if you draw Advance, which might end the game right there, this gets you a different one. It might be worse, but it might be a minion, and then you can use Widow's Bite on it. Then just 1 copy of Quinn Carrier, a 3-cost basic support with Avenger and Vehicle traits, and you can only play this if your identity is an Avenger. Exhaust Quinn Carrier to generate a wild resource. This card is so freaking good. I mean, it's a wild resource for any requirement or any card that gets better if you spend a certain resource, and it's just out at all times. It only finally got a reprint like 2 years after this pack came out. It's very good. Next, we get 3 copies of Target Acquired. It's a 1-cost basic preparation upgrade, max 1 per player. After a boost card is turned face up, as a hero response, you can discard Target Acquired to cancel that card's boost ability. Now, this is the star ability, not the boost icons. It's the ones with the star, and then the star tells you to put it into play or whatever it is. This means that you don't have to do the thing that the star says, and there has been a noticeable uptick in cards that have those boost abilities lately. So this card just keeps getting better. We get an aggression card next, 3 copies of a preparation and tactic upgrade, Counter Attack, which costs 1, max 1 per player. After you take damage from an enemy attack, discard Counter Attack to deal an equal amount of damage to that enemy. This is a cool card for somebody who is able to and wants to soak up a bunch of damage really good in somebody like She-Hulk or Thor or something. Given that it came in Black Widow and that it's a preparation card, makes it seem like we're trying to do this with Black Widow, but that seems risky to let her take a big hit just to use this back. The Leadership card is 3 copies of Rapid Response, a 2-cost preparation and tactic upgrade, also max 1 per player. After an ally you control is defeated, discard Rapid Response, and as a hero response, discard this card to put that ally into play from your discard pile and deal 1 damage to it. I love allies that do a thing when you bring them into play. This card lets you bring them into play, they do their thing, then you stick them out front and take a big hit for you. They go in your discard pile and you're like, nope, come on back, I know you're still hurt. Do your thing again, Maria Hill. Though you do need to pay attention on which allies you're using this on. Not all of the allies that do a thing when they come into play do a thing unless they come from your hand. Defensive Stance is our protection card. It's a preparation tactic upgrade that costs 2 resources, max 1 per player. As a hero interrupt, when you would take any amount of damage, discard Defensive Stance to prevent 3 of that damage. The fact that you can put it into play and then only use it when you need to use it makes it good. Black Widow, of course, because it's preparation and she has interaction with preparation, it's going to be the best in her, but it costs 2 resources plus the card itself, so that's sort of, you can look at it as 3 cards, 3 resources to prevent 3 damage. But if you're using Quinn Carrier to drop that down to 2 cost, plus when you play it as Black Widow, well, as Natasha Romanoff, you're going to get to draw a card if it's the first preparation card you play. Last up is Espionage, a 1-cost basic preparation upgrade. We get 3 copies, and you can only put it into play if you control a spy. As an interrupt, discard this to ignore a surge on an encounter card, then draw 2 cards. Pretty cool to ignore surge. Usually if a card has surge, that means that its own effect isn't too bad, because it's then making you draw another one. So if you can not draw that other one and draw 2 cards, that's very good. Plus, Black Widow is a spy in either form, so she can always put this one into play. And also that spy requirement, it doesn't say your identity has to be a spy. You just have to control a spy. So if you're using the Nick Fury ally that turn, you can still put this into play because you control a spy. Black Widow is very fun. The preparation cards are usually pretty cheap, 1 or 2 resources, and when you're playing them as, you get to draw a card back to replace itself if you play one. So you wind up having this sort of tableau of preparation cards in front of you, and then the villain does something and you're like, hang on. No, it did not. And I draw 2 cards. And I do some damage. She, of course, came with Justice. She's really good in Justice. This is one of those characters similar to Gambit now that we have, where you can really spend most of the game in alter ego. She has cards that work in either form. She gets a big bonus out of her main kind of card. She gets to draw a card when she plays a preparation card. She can just sort of hang back in alter ego, mitigate the threat as best as she can, send her allies out to do a lot of the punching, and then when you get the attack robotics, you flip up into hero form, do some big punches, set off some preparations, and then pop back down and go back to the casino in your fancy dress. Plus we got breaking and entering in the Gambit set that can only be played by a spy or a thief that does some thwarting while you're in alter ego, and she has the shield trait as an alter ego, and we know Justice has all kinds of shield stuff now. Though I do also love her in protection. It doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense right away until you get that Synth Suit out, and if you put Armored Vest on her, getting her up to a 4 natural defense, and then the Synth Suit sometimes allowing her to ready again so she can do some stuff in her hero phase. It's a long night. It takes a while to do the damage, but it also takes a while to get the damage done to you, so it might not be the quickest night, but it's pretty good. It's pretty fun. And if she's defending at a 4, that means she's probably not going to be taking damage very often if she defends, so Dauntless and Hard to Ignore and all those cards are going to be fantastic. Aggression is certainly doable. She turns into kind of a glass cannon. Her damage output is pretty great. Her damage intake is still pretty bad, but it's fun. If you can do a bunch of punching, who cares what your defense is? Well, no, she still cares. And that's all I've got for Black Widow. Now get off my lawn. The Grouchy Nerd.